Number 5. Shamol Rowe. An animated movie director, Shamol Rowe, did not find himself in the plot of a fairy tale, but rather a horrific drama when falsely accused by his local police of a double murder. The mistake was made by the police due to the fact that both he and the suspects were both named Mr. Rowe and were almost both identical. The real suspect had received a penalty in 2004 for the murder of a hotel owner and his wife. The criminal Rowe had successfully broken free from prison and was still on the run. The police force offered up to a large cash reward for anyone who aided in his capture. So how did the innocent animator get involved in this situation? The answer is social media. A police officer saw a photo of Rowe on Facebook and mistook him for the escaped convict. Police forces then stormed his home in Gangavati on March 6 and arrested him. Rowe then explained to them that he was not in fact an escaped convict. Once the fingerprints didn't match, proving his innocence, he was allowed to go home. Number 4. Ahmed Harara. Perhaps the most shocking of all cases of mistaken identity, a 3-year-old was accused of a crime. The court decided that the boy was to be convicted of the murder of 3 individuals and the destruction of a property. All these occurred in Fayoum during the protests across Egypt in January of 2014. The named suspect, Ahmed, had not even celebrated his 2nd birthday then. Ahmed was also given 3 extra years on top of his sentence for other crimes. When authorities discovered that Ahmed was only too young, his dad was arrested in his place. The father remained in prison for many months. When the public and media caught wind in the situation, it became a huge controversy. Many media outlets expressed a loss of faith in the country's justice system. Ahmed's father begged for assistance in a TV interview. The government stated that a mix-up of identities was to be blamed for the family's misfortune. Number 3. Mustafa al-Shamiri. Mustafa al-Shamiri, as it turns out, was not such a high-level operative for the enemy as US authorities believed. In reality, he was simply a normal, insignificant soldier. There was evidence released noting that he had connections to Al-Qaeda and was involved in various fights against US forces. However, the authorities can no longer deny that they placed greater importance on Mustafa and were in fact looking for someone else with a similar name. Information released stated that despite this, he had been involved in many conflicts with US forces, including battles during Yemen's civil war and various fights with the Taliban. Therefore, the US had no choice but to keep him imprisoned. Those working with al-Shamiri state that he is extremely cooperative with the US forces detaining him. He often demonstrated a good and healthy outlook on things despite the circumstances. His main goal now is to become more educated so that he could support a future for himself and family. Those who worked with him stated that he had regrets about the choices he made during his life. He had come to accept his choices and errors, but wished he had made more wiser decisions. All he wanted now was a new start away from fighting and his old life. Number 2. Adolf Beck. The story of Adolf Beck is arguably the most notable case of wrongful conviction. The story has been discussed and published in various pieces of literature across the world. The story is so famous that it is now taught to law students. After bumping into a woman during his time living in Britain who mistook him for someone he had previously stolen from her, Beck suddenly had 15 convictions on his head. The woman's thief had also been committing other robberies, and all had lumped back onto Beck. To add to Beck's misfortune, he looked so alike to the real culprit that he was pointed out of a lineup by various citizens. Crimes of this nature had been occurring for 18 years and a suspect was about to be lined up. Despite this, the courts disregarded everything in Beck's favor and had him imprisoned. Over the course of his sentence, it somehow became known that the real culprit, John Smith, was circumcised and Beck was not. So Beck's name was cleared, but this was not enough to sway the courts in his favor, so poor Adolf Beck, he remained imprisoned. Number 1. Cindy Cheesebroth. Upon arriving after a holiday, Cindy Cheesebroth was detained by officials for an illegal action that wasn't her doing. In the early hours of April the 24th, authorities detained her as she arrived at the airport with her fiancé. Their flight home involved a short stopover at Houston Airport where the incident took place. Cheesebroth's fiancé, Jason Istats, could only watch helplessly as she was arrested in front of him. The authorities declined to offer Istats a proper explanation as he was not yet officially married to her. It transpires that she had been arrested for having debts in excess of $1,000 in Missouri area. Before the $3,500 bail was paid off by her fiance, she spent 5 days in a cell. Once released, she attempted to clear her name with the Missouri officials over the phone. After no response was given to her for about a week, Cheese Broth traveled for about 5 hours to Farmington. Upon arrival, she was told that all claims against her were now cleared. However, officials had not given her a proper apology for her time spent behind bars. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to us for more updates.